When is it okay to start showing your kids TV, phone, or tablet? Do screen times itself have a directly negative impact? How much screen time should you allow at what age? If these are the questions that you're looking for the answers to, you've come to the right place. So stay tuned until the end, as I will be answering all these questions and more when it comes to screen time with your kid in this video. Hi mom and dads, welcome back, and today we are going to talk about screen time when it comes to your child. We have a vague idea as to too much screen time couldn't possibly be good for the child, so I did a little bit of research. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends minimal to no screen time at all for ages between 0 to 24 months. From 2 to 5 years old, they actually recommend about an hour of screen time per day. There is a landmark study that showed a significant association between the screen time and the negative effect it has on child, done by the National Institute of Health in 2018. It showed that the children with 2 hours of screen time a day actually scored lower on their language and thinking test. And the children who had significantly more screen time per day actually showed a thinning of brain cortex lining, which is the area of the brain that deals with the critical thinking and reasoning. Although there are many research that associates the negative effect with a lot of screen time for your child, it wasn't until recently that they did a study whether the screen time in itself is harmful to the brain development of your child. A recent study by the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health in England published a research that states that there wasn't a conclusive evidence that the screen time in itself would cause any harm to the brain development of the child at any age, which also meant the recommendations of time limit given by age was no longer possible. So this meant that there was a little bit of discrepancy when it comes to recommendation given by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health from England. However, they do agree on one aspect of screen time that definitively affects the development of your child. So what is this one aspect, you ask? Well, it is the reduction in the real-world interaction by your child due to the screen time. And the reason for this is because the babies under 24 months develop their brain and learn through touch and interacting with objects in three-dimensional space. In fact, babies have a very tough time learning anything through a two-dimensional screen experience. There has been a research where they actually showed one group of babies where the hidden toys were through a closed-circuit video, while the second group of babies were shown the same information but in person using social cues. The second group of babies had a much easier time finding the toys, whereas the first group had a very much of a difficult time finding the toys with the same given information. This research also showed the implications that it has on educational video content and their effectiveness when it comes to showing it to young children. So which part of the brain is being developed when they're interacting with these objects and people in the real world? It is the part of the brain that deals with the executive functions, critical thinking and reasoning, and that is the prefrontal cortex. The rapid development of this part of the brain starts around 1 year old and it peaks from about 3 to 8 years old. So how is this developed? It is learned through experience. Baby will realize what works and what doesn't through trial and error, which is not possible on a two-dimensional screen experience, and understanding that they can make an influence and affect the environment around them. This is precisely why we want to provide as much of a real-world interaction to the child. And if you have child under 24 months old, the development of these executive function is critically influenced by the interaction you have with your child. Children with parents who are more responsive will develop faster. So providing scaffolding as a parent is of utmost importance during this period. I came across this term through the book written by Dr. Laura Markham, Peaceful Parents, Happy Kids. What scaffolding is providing aid to the child in a way that will encourage them to complete the task themselves without actually doing the task for them entirely. By being able to complete the task themselves, it will increase their self-esteem and self-confidence, and the confidence that they can actually affect the world around them. And this will teach them the control over their emotion and provide understanding that their actions have consequences in the real world. For example, it's a mealtime. You're feeding the toddler and she starts to grab the food from the spoon and starts eating it herself. She is still eating, but she's ending up making a big mess, just smearing the food all over her face and the table. If you're quick to stop her from making this mess and only allow her to eat what you give her, you're preventing the opportunity for her to learn her executive functions through touch and interaction. Toddlers who are being restricted often or prevented from carrying out their own actions will have slower development when it comes to these cognitive functions. And this could lead to inability to control their emotions and not being completely self-aware. If screen time is taking away the time needed for your child to develop by interacting with the real world, should you be taking away the screen time entirely? Well, assuming that your child is not under 2 years old, that may not necessarily be so, because not all screen times are created equal. In fact, if you're spending your screen time with your child to play an interactive game of colors and shapes, or using it to teach through educational program, that is good screen time. However, if you're using the phone or TV to watch your favorite TV show with your child, that will be considered a bad screen time. So instead of just blindly feeling guilty about providing your child with a phone or TV, think about the kind of effect that it may have on the child and make a purposeful decision. Ultimately, you'll have to decide as a parent what will be best for your child according to your family situation and scenario. Personally, I'll try to keep the screen time as minimal as possible until my twins are 24 months old. But after that, I intend to give them exposure and monitor closely, so as to prevent them from becoming technologically illiterate. For our child's generation, technology is no longer going to be optional, but a mandatory part of life. And avoiding screen time entirely could actually have more negative effect on the child by the time they reach adulthood in this new society. Because for our child's generation, technology is no longer an option, but a mandatory part of life. I may even go as far as saying that learning a programming language could be as essential as reading and writing was for our generation. So don't be avoiding the screen time just because you're afraid of it. Manage it with purpose. Let me know what you guys think. These are my opinions and I would love to hear what you have to say. Hope you found value in this video. And if you did, please hit that like button. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you guys on the next video. Happy parenting.